Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This year has been our most successful year for growing Vanda orchids. Many of them are even putting out multiple spikes, which typically only happens when a plant is experiencing ideal conditions. The flowers are huge and numerous, very spectacular. Most of our Vanda orchids bloomed 2 or 3 times this year, though some of them did not bloom last year as they were dehydrated when we purchased them and needed time to re-establish themselves. After a year in better conditions, they are healthy and ready to put out more blooms, which I'm very excited to see. I hope that you will be able to enjoy similar success after watching this video. I think it is very simple to grow Vanda orchids in summer, especially in areas with warm weather. Here we have 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. When the weather gets warm, you can place them outdoors and hang them on a balcony or under a big tree where they can receive morning and or evening sunlight. In early summer, be sure to avoid the scorching sun at noon. Every day, water the Vanda orchid thoroughly from the leaves to the roots. If low humidity is coupled with sun and high heat, you should water twice a day. Apply a special orchid fertilizer to your Vanda once a week, feed weekly. The key to their outdoor vigor is the constant air circulation. This really lowers disease pressure and allows them to thrive. The most challenging season for Vanda cultivation is undoubtedly winter, as the weather drops significantly below 60 Fahrenheit, reaching lows in the mid to low 50s at night. You need to move your Vanda orchids indoors. Indoors, insufficient light, poor ventilation and dry air can all cause issues. You must try to avoid these conditions as much as possible. Your goal is to get them through this less than ideal season unscathed, so that they can thrive again outside once summer rolls around. Some tips on doing this will follow. Starting in early to mid-fall, we move our Vanda orchids into our greenhouse as temperatures drop. These orchids should not be exposed to temperatures in the 40s, and even the low 50s are not ideal. There are heaters and electric fans in the greenhouse to both increase air movement and keep the temperature above 60. There is a temperature and humidity meter to give us feedback on our growing conditions. It's very easy to use. I purchased it from Amazon and have been using it for over a year, very convenient. It can also be connected to a mobile phone app via Bluetooth, and you can observe the temperature and humidity in real time. Let's take a look at the temperature data for the last month. 2 different units are displayed here, degrees Fahrenheit and Celsius. It was early December, a time when the heater was turned down low, and the temperature that night was as low as 50. Most of the time, the night temperature is above 54. The temperature during the day hovers around 73, and when the weather is good, it can be as high as 81. The temperature difference between day and night is around 20 degrees. This temperature difference is important as it is conducive to orchid flowering. Vanda orchids like warm environments, so be sure to keep the temperature above 50. Next, let's look at humidity. A greenhouse is a confined space. Every time you water your orchids, the humidity skyrockets and can quickly reach over 80%. Most of the time, the humidity in our greenhouse is above 60%. When the air indoors is dry in winter, you can use a humidifier to increase the humidity of the environment around the orchids. Orchids like an environment with high humidity, especially orchids like Vanda orchids which grow bare-rooted. If the humidity is low for a long time, it will cause dehydration, and you will find that the leaves of the Vanda may begin to wrinkle. At this time, you must quickly increase the humidity of the air. You can also soak the roots of the Vanda in water for a period of time every day to replenish it with moisture. In environments with high humidity, attention needs to be paid to airflow. High humidity and poor airflow make it easy for bacterial and fungal infections to breed. In our greenhouse, there are fans working 24 hours a day. Always maintain good airflow. I use this spectrometer to measure our greenhouse's light intensity at different times of the day. By comparing these readouts with a measurement of direct sunlight, you can tell how much light you need to provide. This spectrometer tests many parameters. Below is a spectrum graph. Natural light is full spectrum. We mainly look at the first parameter, PAR. The full name of PAR is photosynthetically active radiation. This means the total amount of light that plants use to photosynthesize. In direct sunlight, the PAR value is 40 to 50 milliwatts per square centimeter. Indoors, the intensity of direct light through glass is 10 to 20 milliwatts per square centimeter. This means that the light transmittance of our glass is about 50%. Of course, each household will use different types of glass, and the light transmittance will therefore differ among them. The greenhouse where we grow our orchids faces west and receives direct afternoon light. Sometimes there will be late morning sunshine depending on the season and the angle of the sun. Let's take a look at the light intensity that Vanda orchids receive in the greenhouse. The value of PAR is between 5,000 and 8,000. Please note that the unit here is microwatts per square centimeter. Compared with the previous calculation, it is 5 to 8 milliwatts per square centimeter. The light intensity received by Vanda orchids is between 10% and 20% of natural direct sunlight. So in general, orchids ought to be placed next to south-facing windows where they will get enough light. If the light is too strong, you can use thin curtains to filter the sunlight. Of course, the sun is constantly moving from morning to night, and the light intensity at each time of day is also different. I think the best way is to observe the color of the orchid leaves. A dark green color indicates insufficient light. If the leaves turn yellow, the light may be too strong, though this can also indicate other problems. A purplish blush, especially on new growth, shows that the plant is receiving adequate light to bloom, but also that the plant may be burned if it is exposed to more intense sunlight. Choose a suitable location based on the color of the orchid's leaves, and also keep in mind that the intensity of sunlight changes throughout the year and does not track with temperature or season. It is most intense in late June, and the sunlight in April is just as strong as it is in August, despite much lower temperatures. Orchids grow slowly in winter, so the frequency of fertilization needs to be reduced at this time. We use this special fertilizer for orchids produced by MSU. Fertilize orchids 1 to 2 times a month in winter. Once they produce spikes, you can fertilize them normally until the flowers open, at which point you should stop feeding. After the blooms fade, start fertilizing again. We usually use 1 tablespoon per gallon of Epsom salts once every 3 months to keep the leaves lush and healthy. It contains magnesium ions which can promote photosynthesis and are otherwise beneficial for plant growth. To prevent the proliferation of potential diseases, we used a fungicide this year when the orchids were first moved into the greenhouse. We used both thiomyl and clearies, which have the same active ingredient, thiophanate methyl this time. The next time we spray, we will use Phyton 27, which has a different mode of action, to prevent the buildup of resistance. We time the sprays to periods during which the orchids face a combination of stressors and high disease pressure. This primarily consists of moving them into the greenhouse in fall and out in late spring. In fall, we're going from a drier environment with bigger temperature swings and constant air movement to an enclosed, more humid environment with weaker sunlight and more moderate temperature variations. In spring, we are going from a very hot greenhouse strong sunlight in April regularly gets our greenhouse into the high 80s and 90s, to a much cooler outdoor environment, in a season which is typically more rainy and overcast, with incredibly powerful sunlight when it isn't overcast. These big changes in temperature, light intensity, humidity, and air movement stress any plant, and a stressed plant is always more susceptible to all sorts of infections and infestations. This is why a quick jolt of systemic fungicide can protect your orchid as it acclimates to a new growing environment. If you do find that your Vanda orchid is infested with pests or diseases, be sure to isolate it from other orchids. When the resistance of orchids decreases, especially in winter, pests and diseases are particularly bothersome. You can also spot treat these specific orchids. I often mix up some fungicide and drench problem plants. In this video I shared in detail the growing conditions we provide when growing Vanda orchids, including temperature, humidity, light, fertilization, and pest and disease control. I hope this video is helpful to you. If your Vanda orchid is not growing well and not blooming, you can replicate the growing conditions we provide. Give it some time to recover slowly. I believe that your Vanda orchid will grow vigorously and bloom frequently. Finally, thank you for watching. See you next time.